Over here, it's a different challenge, it's a different style. It's not been an easy ride, but at the end of the day, it's a great society.
Placed with, I felt like I was cared for. I'd like another child to experience the same thing.
Into the community, made sure that our neighbors and our community knew who we were, so that when we started to adopt kids, that we could be a part of that community.
Now you're fairly new to Canada. I know you're not liking the cold too much. Are you getting used to it?
No.
You don't you'd never get, I've been here for a long time, you don't get used to it. But you're a great example of new Canadians. And actually, we should have an applause for you two. You actually have, I think you're in the Guinness Book of World Records for the world's fastest courtship. What was it, like 3 hours?
It was a week we met.
Yeah.
The next weekend we got engaged. And 3 months later we were married.
Yeah.
You don't waste any time.
Heather's school was attacked. The next door neighbor was with, I believe, 300 pounds of kgs of bomb ammunition. The whole neighborhood was affected. By a strong stroke of luck, we were very late for school that day. Otherwise, we would not have been here, or we would have been in a different shape. That was a very strong, major factor for us to relocate. And we are very happy to have made that decision. We are very indebted to Canada for hosting us, for having us. As the word keeps coming up, the transition. This transition would not have transpired so easily and would not have facilitated if HMC would not have been there to support us.
Yeah.
HMC has been a pivotal force. Halton Village Public School, where Heather goes to, has been very supportive, so supportive that Heather was adamant that we buy a house in the same neighborhood and that we have to be in the catchment area.
Okay.
Our local library, where we needed to just go and have we needed direction, guidance. Internet,
yeah.
Media, the movies and the books, all of that, they were there to support us. It's a wonderful community, Halton Support Services, HMC, Canada. It's not been an easy ride. You give up everything, you come up with 2 suitcases and you are ready to open shop. Look for a job, look for a house, look for a car, get driver's license, make friends, maybe lose friends, make relationships, get jobs, not be satisfied, move on to another one. But at the end of the day, it's a great society. You have a wide spectrum of service providers. Heather, if you would ever see, I have not submitted those photographs, unfortunately. When it was his first day of school in Canada, and the next year, when it was his second year of school in Canada, you can see his body language, how dramatically it has improved. His back is straight, he's making eye contact. Heather was born 1 kg with a lot of special needs. He has really come a very far way.
He's a miracle baby.
He's a miracle baby, and Canada has made him furthermore.
Mm-hmm.
He has become far more articulate. CCAC, Erino kids have helped him a lot. They have helped us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Helped us. When we go to Erino kids, the counselors or the service navigators and the therapists are like, okay, it happens. Mm-hmm. And we are here to help you. And you have to tell us. With a lot of newcomers to Canada, the issue is, and this goes out to all the newcomers, please, from whichever community you come from, It's not us and them, it is us all the way. As right now you were saying, it is we. It is we who have opted to be here, and we have to integrate. We have to be a part. We have to give our best to be accepted. Let's not criticize. Let's learn to assimilate with traditions, cultures, with our children and the children already here. Let's be a part of the community. We took an initiative to volunteer at our son's school so we could hang out with our peers and get to know them and get them to know us. We tried to go out and meet people of various types. It's been a great journey. Heather went through a milieu of speech therapists. For some reason, they were all getting married. So now we are. We found consistency. Heather is going to a school where he is gladly accepted. He is encouraged. He doesn't. Maybe the waking part in the morning is like, okay, 4 minutes, but he goes to school willingly. He's happy. He's done. He's in the school.
The first day of school, like when they called us, to come and have a talk with the school people.
Office.
Yeah,
Wasn't something you were used to.
Yes, and it was mostly negative stuff because in the native country, when I was called in the school with the principal,
You were in trouble.
I was in trouble. Not my child, I was. So I was scared, and I knew the answer would be that they can't take my child because he's not mainstreamed, and he needs to be in a more special school where the rest of the kids like him need to go. And so when I was called here, he knows I was like, I don't want to go. And when I had that meeting with them, and they said, oh, we are going to do this, and this is how he's going to be, and he's going to be grade 3. And I just looked at them and I started crying because I didn't expect that. And I was like, really? Because it's different. Because I knew that they're going to say that he can't be with power with his friends. Or
So you were hearing he can for the first time.
yes. So that was amazing. That was.
And how quickly were these differences with Hader coming? Like, how quickly did he respond to this in terms of flourishing?
Oh, he still is. And it's amazing.
Oh,
and,
see it. I mean,
and,
we're
and,
going
and,
off
and
of crying out
the
loud.
other day, he just came up to me and he said, I've just signed up for choir. And I'm like looking at him. I'm like, wow, that's great. So for me, that's...
We're not going to make you sing, Hader. Don't worry. Unless you want to.
No.
Right now we have a role reversal where Seba works full time
At a daycare.
at a daycare
Yes.
because I had the license and she had the skills to get a job first.
I failed a lot of times.
It's okay.
My driving thing.
And
But I
Well, you just
passed.
got your license, by the way.
Yes.
yeah,
I recently got it.
so that's me.
So,
So I'm like my
Congratulations.
driver's off
Yeah.
now.
It's been fun. I had a lot of time to get to know Heather in a different way. We've bonded a lot more. We've had our father and son good moments and tough moments. And
give us an example of each.
example of each. We sneak out to eat quite a bit, which we are not allowed. Which we were not allowed to. One is a good part. The bad part, the tough part would be, one realizes it's not easy. It's not easy being a parent looking after a child. If someone is a homemaker and she's looked down or he is looked down upon and said, "Oh, you're just a homemaker," say, "Yes, I'm a very good homemaker."
Mm-hmm.
It's
an important job.
It's a very tough job. Heather has become an independent young man. He has his own choices. He will not take no for an answer. If he hasn't got to do it, he won't do it. I have to reason.
And we have to reason.
I have to explain myself. He has become far more vocal. And we come from a culture where this is not accepted or practiced. And for children and for newcomers, when they come from such different cultures, which is fine over there, everyone has a different flavor. But over here, it's a different challenge, it's a different style. We have to adapt, because in adaptation, the wheel moves quicker.
Yeah.
You can drive with your handbrake on, your car will resist. You can put the handbrake down, and your car will move quicker, and you'll get to your destination better.
I know another philosophy you have is just don't sweat the small stuff.
Don't.
And I'm sure that's gone a long way in your new life here.
Yeah, when it was -30, it was a polar vortex. It was great.
Well, that's a big thing.
It was great. Yeah. Honest to God, it was great. You know why? You would see those little tots, they were walking to school. You know what? School was on, the clinics were on, the hospital was on, and our landlord said, you need to take it easy. Heather doesn't need to go to school tomorrow. And you know what I said to myself? We must go to school tomorrow. We'll see how the system functions. And holy cow, does it function? Does it function?
Last of my first winter.
First winter, and how was it? Fun?
Coat.
Good. Who was making all the snowballs?
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite the introduction to Canadian winter. The polar vortex. Sorry about that.
It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
See, that's
We
what
were
all
taking
two
the
words
bus
off.
and everything.
we were taking the bus.
And the bus was coming on time.
Bus
I was like, wow.
Oh man.
I
it's
didn't have
there.
a reason to stay home. I'm like, okay, have to go work.
It's
Michael's.
Michael.
Yes,
Yeah,
I was
Mama was working. It's not easy, newcomers, but when you plant corn, you plant wheat. It's tough. It's backbreaking. But at the end, when the fruit comes out, when it's ready for harvest, and you see that acres and acres of wheat, of corn, I'm sure you feel good. It's just like that. This is our seed, which is flourishing, and we are so happy. I couldn't find a family physician. And I emailed Mr. Dalewala, and I said, this is what's the situation. She said, okay, I'll guide you to one. And that thing just said, okay, so I have to knock and I will be guided. So that helped. And that was the triggering moment for us to realize that HMC is there to direct us there to, CCAC, Halton support. Finding a job, finding a car. Okay, these are the things you need to have. These are the things you need to know about it. And it helped. And in this 1.5 years, we've been able to, Seba's been able to get a job, Heather's integrated into school, we've been able to move into our own house, drive our car, have our licenses. It's because of HMC. It's a lot of help.
Yeah.
I don't think we would have setting up time, moving on time would have taken further if these services were not there.
Came back to Oakville a few years ago, and we've lived here for a long time. And I'm in the aerospace industry. I work for a company right now called Mitsubishi Heavy Industries.
What's your dream in the automotive industry?
Eventually, down the road, probably get into performance, like racing and stuff like that within track.
Yeah.
But just baby steps first, I guess.
Yeah. And maybe own your own business one day?
Yeah, one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, get my license first and kind of work with
What's your current job right now? You've got a temporary job.
Yeah, small engines and commercial equipment in Clarkson.
Okay.
At Current Power.
Yeah.
It's just a start off kind of, basic job.
Yeah.
He brought a BMX with him, I think it's a BMX, which he had retrofitted with a lawnmower engine. And it actually worked.
It worked real well. How fast
It worked really well. 80
miles an hour.
So we knew he was going to be in mechanics.
And you're certainly a great inspiration. And in terms of your role as a foster family, and you've been working with the Children's Aid Society. Actually, we'll start there in terms of with Halton CAS. How you got involved?
Well, we took the course, I guess it was about 2.5 years ago, and I was working shift work at the time, and Kathy I was missing half the classes, so Kathy graduated at the end of the thing, and I had to take on the other half of the classes, and I didn't get around to taking the courses for about another 6 months, and then went back and finished the rest of the course. And we went through the process of the interviews that you have to go through, the background checks, and all the fun stuff that goes with that. And then the lady, our worker, said to us, okay, well, we'll be talking to you soon about a family. And I said to Kathy that, most likely we'll get a call tomorrow morning about a child. And sure enough, Friday morning they called and said, we have a child we'd like you to meet. And we went out for dinner with Kyle on Friday night and hit it off really well. And he moved in on Monday morning. So,
Wow. Yeah.
Actually, through the process, Kyle was mentioned to us on a few occasions. There's this boy that he fits in with your family so well. It just seems such a match, his interest, your interest. And so we were kind of being groomed to get there. And of course, we met Kyle and he was fabulous.
Well, and you bonded through, I see you got a Habs watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're a Montreal fan too.
Absolutely, that was one of
You're having a good year, by the way.
Yeah, that was one of the important things I asked Kyle when we first met him for dinner that night. I said, what hockey team do you like? And
So if it was a Maple Leaf watch, that would have been a deal breaker.
yeah, we wouldn't be here today.
This wouldn't be happening. But you have hit it off right away. I mean, it did click. And
Yes.
What do you attribute to that?
I think we have a lot of commonalities, like in our families, things that have happened to both of us, tragic situations in our families. And
Yours
so it was
and
easy
Kyle's story, very similar.
very similar stories, and made it easy to talk about. And I think that helped him. It helped me to reminisce about, my teenage years as well.
Was that a great comfort, Kyle?
Yeah, it was really great. Because the questions to ask and not to ask, because if you go through the same experiences, you know what you didn't want to get asked. I didn't really feel scared or anything coming to the house. I just felt that, just kind of going home from the group home. So that was nice.
Just fit.
Yeah.
It felt right. Felt good.
Yeah.
When I was about 5, me and my 9 brothers and sisters were put into foster care for a few months until my parents could get some things straightened out. And the family that I was placed with, I still remember them to this day. They certainly had an influence on my whole life of showing me a difference between the way we lived. Even though I was 5, I knew the difference between coming home, having meals, just clean bedding, things that I thought were great. So, and I thought it was fantastic that they used to drive me to school because we walked, miles through snowstorms. And so I felt like I was cared for. And as I went through life, I constantly kept going back to that experience and saying, no, I'm going to push on because I know this is what I want. So I think it really did have an impact. And then remembering that was part of saying, I'd like another child to experience the same thing and know that people are out there that actually care, about you, because sometimes you get lost in it too.
In terms of your foster family experience, you focused on teens as well, right, Bruce? Why is that?
I was glad that we decided to go with teens because I just don't have the energy to have a.
You're like 29.
Yeah, I'm 29, but a 7-year-old can be a bit of a challenge, and also teenagers need some help too, and we can sort of relate to them a lot better, I think. So that was one of the things that we wanted to focus on was trying to help teenagers because I think that's an important group that sometimes gets overlooked, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people ask me, how did you get through all this stuff in your life? And I think it was just perseverance, that I just knew where I wanted to be at the end, and I knew it would all someday work out somehow, and just believe in that, I just, in my own life, my mother died when I was 14, and then I had a baby at 15. My husband died at 16, and then I took it from there. But I was lucky to have 9 brothers and sisters, to kind of go to and talk to, and but I did live on my own with my daughter, and it just shows you what you want to do, you can do. I had to give up, obviously, a lot. I didn't go to the prom. There was a lot of things I gave up, but willingly. I had a child, and I started to focus on her instead. Yeah. Went back to school, night school, and got a job, and I can't say it was all easy, but I did it.
Yeah, and obviously you've heard that story. Is that an inspiration to you? Does that give you a strength, Kyle, hearing your mom's story in terms of perseverance?
For sure. Yeah, it's a lot to go through, obviously. And it's nice to know, from from going through all that and going now, it's like a breeze kind of from now.
Our families are fairly close together, to be honest with you. My parents live in Burlington, and they're very supportive, and it's great. We like to be able to give back. We're Christians, and that's another one of the reasons why we wanted to get into foster care was we've been very fortunate in our life, to be honest with you. We're not millionaires, but we're comfortable. We feel blessed, absolutely, and we want to be able to give back. And this is a way of helping somebody out. And I feel great that we've helped Kyle out, and I can see just the change in him since he's came with us. That he was sort of a little shy, and now he's a confident young man. To be honest with you, I think the sky's the limit for him. He can do anything that he wants, and it's great to know that you were able to. Or at least I think we were able to help him. Hopefully he feels that way.
Yeah.
I think that by helping children just to get back on the right path or steer them in the right direction is obviously a contribution to your community, because you are now contributing to them become productive adults rather than being stuck in a place that they don't know how to move on from. And I think that's what we've endeavored to try and do as well. And we've been through teens ourselves, many, many times, and know the struggles and the fights. And, and as long as they understand what those fights are about, and it's because
does it get easier, or is each case,
I think everyone is different.
Yeah,
absolutely. I know Kathy has said it before. I've had a lot of jobs and different careers, and I can tell you that nothing is as satisfying as seeing, someone like Kyle, who came into our house, who was sort of a little bit lost. He didn't know what he wanted to do, and he just needed somebody there to support him and help him. And now I know that he will be successful in life because of, the support we've given him. We've just basically supported him and let him know that he can actually do it himself.
But it's got to be something, seeing that flourish.
Oh, absolutely. It's great.
For just planting the seeds and facilitating it. What's the most important thing in terms of keeping family tight and together?
I think talking.
Yeah.
I think just asking each other, how's your day? How did it go? Anything you want to talk about? And not taking, it's great. And moving on. I don't take that. I'll dig a little further.
Not good enough. Yeah.
So what did you do today? And then things come out and you can talk about them. But I think that really solidifies our relationship quite a bit between the three of us. And Bruce is great at that as well.
We give our life experiences to Kyle. Sometimes I'll say to Kyle, well, you really shouldn't do this because, I was 16 once, and Kathy will also tell him the same thing. And we'll share some of our life experiences, and that's why we sometimes tell him, that this is something to do. We don't, say you can't do this or that, but we try and guide him through, some of the things that we went through when we were younger.
Well, we try to keep the rules at a minimum.
Yeah.
I think if you're overbearing with rules with teenagers, they're trying to learn to be an adult.
You get the opposite effect, or you get
you do. You get this rebellious type of thing, and I think we know that from our own experience. So for him, we like to be interested in what he's interested in. I think I've sat down almost every other day doing mechanics homework with Kyle.
Oh, really?
Sometimes to 11, 12 at night. So he knows we're there for him. I can't speak for Kyle, but I think it has a lot to do with keeping the rules simple, that they understand. Kyle does have a curfew. He's never broke it. He's very respectful of it. And then I hear other people saying, well, our kids at that age don't have curfew. And I said, well, that's okay for you, but in our house, we go to bed at a certain time and we get up at a certain time. And to function properly, we need to do that.
Mm-hmm. And you zeroed in on an important word, respect, too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And even if he phones and asks permission to do something, I find that respectful. Mm-hmm. I don't tell him he has to do that, but he respects us enough to phone home and say, can I do this or that, or can I go with my friends?
Amongst your peers and your friends, how do they respond when you say I'm a foster parent? How did that go?
I guess with the friends that you find that are close to you, that actually want to be friends with you, they actually understand that a lot. And when you tell them kind of your situation and when they've been with you for your whole life, they'll understand a lot of that. And, they just become really good friends and they understand that.
Decided that to create our family, we wanted to be outside of the Toronto area and have some more green space and a better sense of community. Toronto is a hub for the LGBT community.
Well, I was
However,
just going to say, very friendly that way. Was there a big question mark when you were coming to Halton?
yeah, we took a risk. I mean, we took a risk and moved from a very supportive, larger community and families that looked like us to a smaller community that we had no idea was how they were going to accept us.
Yeah, we were definitely seeking a smaller community. That was part of our goal. And we did look around. We were trying to get something along the GO line. We really like Lorne Park, but that wasn't in the cards. So we just took a chance, really. And we just wanted to get out of downtown Toronto.
We intentionally, when we moved into the community, made sure that our neighbors and our community knew who we were, so that when we started to have kids and adopt kids, that we could be a part of that community. We weren't like some scary family that's down the road.
Yeah, that's an important point.
Yeah, some of the couples in the neighborhood that were our age were very forthcoming. So bringing in a bottle of wine, I think that they were probably already educated as to the makeup of our family. We did have older neighbors living next door to us, and we never discussed our relationship directly with them. But very soon after we moved in and we had a dog, we had to put up a fence. And so I had to go next door and say, do you want to build a fence? And got along quite well with them. So I spent the summer building the fence, and our next door neighbor, his wife Penny, came out one day and she brought me sandwiches. And while she was giving me the sandwiches, she said, how long have you two been together? And for me, that was the moment where I knew, here is this person who's probably 20 years older than me, accepting us.
Right.
I took my parental leave because I want to be a full-time parent, but I can't. So the early years center was really accepting, and I either had two reactions. I had like, wow, look at this dad, he's an amazing hero in the center, or there's a scary man in the center kind of thing, right? And so the questions were for me and James. James was off playing, obviously, but for me, people were, the workers there were immediately came up to me and asked me if I needed parenting advice and parenting books to read. And so I said, sure, I'd love to. Do you have any like gay and lesbian books on parenting? And they didn't have any, of course. But so we worked through that, registering our children at schools were fine, but things systematically we had to change from mother father to father dad or parent one parent two.
It's funny, at first you just accept them because that's the way it always was. But then after a while, once you become empowered, you start to look at it a little more like, well, wait a second, why aren't they accommodating us? Like, why does it say, mother father? I have nothing against mother fathers. I have one myself, or both. So. But the thing that probably helped us the most was being willing to accept help and seeking out assistance. So because some families might be afraid to go forward and have themselves labeled and say, we can't do it. But what we discovered early on is that every parent has struggles, and you need those resources. We've used them many times, and they've been so helpful. And in doing so, actually, we've become sort of ambassadors.
James, how has the experience been for you, just in terms of two dad parents?
Well, it's been definitely different from having a mom and a dad, because when people ask you, like, how's your mom or something, you say, oh, I don't have one, or something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
Overall, it's like a really positive experience because it's different.
They're right here,
We're a very community-oriented family, and volunteerism is very important to us, and so we want to talk about some of the things that you might have
actually
volunteered.
You had really long hair before. You just chopped your hair recently.
Yeah, I cut it off for cancer, so I had it like down to my here.
Yeah.
And we
How recent was that? When did you do that?
Well, my little brother's grandfather died to cancer, so that definitely was something that definitely wanted me to make cut my hair. So volunteer experiences, I cut my hair. I volunteered at Camp Waterdown, so I was a leader in training there.
Serving food.
Oh yeah, I also served food at the Christmas dinner at
the AIDS Network, so I'm a board member at the AIDS Network as well. So both boys come out and do our Christmas dinner and help.
But the volunteerism is important just in terms of community integration, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I first started doing the Halton Anti-Homophobia Committee, it was around the same time that the Halton Regional Police were developing their diversity program. And so on my network, they were sitting as one of the partners along with ROC and Savis and the region and smaller, bigger, larger agencies as well. And so I was always invited in to do some training for their new recruits for their diversity program. So the Halton Regional Police have been amazing in supporting the LGBT community, but also our family personally when doing this work that I do sometimes garners lots of negative reaction. And so there were occasionally some safety concerns that needed police intervention. And the Halton Regional Police were certainly right beside us as allies and has really made efforts to connect with a community that wasn't always, the two weren't always working together. I mean, there was acknowledgement of our family and support and celebration as well for us.
And we have no hesitancy reaching out for those services either because we know that they're now trained and accepting and we've had nothing but good experiences.
Yeah, and there's a comfort level now, and I think, was it James or Xavier when you're walking down the street and, there was a tendency not to hold hands. You would hold Xavier or James' hands.
That was James.
It was James. Yeah. And then he actually asked you to start holding hands.
Yeah, so we would walk in our community and James would be in the middle and then James would occasionally say, now Dad, you're in the middle kind of thing. So we did, we were intentionally to support our child, but also to value our relationship, we did that. Yeah. So I'm adopted myself and so James and Xavier both have two experts in the adoption and attachment stuff to pull on. So James can talk to my mother about adoption and what that meant and how that process looked for me and for her as well as a parent. I used to drag James around everywhere. Yeah. And in fact, sometimes James, when he was younger, he would play with his friends and he'd come running into the house and he'd say, I need some paper and pencils. So what are you guys doing? Why don't you just be outside playing? He said, no, we're having a meeting. So we got used to playing under the table of all of the meetings that I was doing. But we... I guess the work-life balance for us is Wayne works at home, and I have the option to work at home, or I can have some flexibility in my schedule. Yeah. So I really love the opportunity to be home at 3:30. Well, now it's like 2:30 when the kids come home, right? So when they were younger, I was always there to pick them up and walk them to school, and so I always had that flexibility.
There is a larger community still that is having difficulty accepting gay parenting but inroads are being made there too.
It's a generational thing too, and
it is for sure. But certain religious organizations might be less inclined. But what we've been finding just in the last couple of years is even those doors are starting to open up now, and people are curious about our family.
Even with your generation and your era, you had some hurdles to overcome, which you did.
Oh yeah, definitely. We have our own internal prejudices. We talk about the hand-holding thing. Marcus and I came from an era where we could not ever hold hands, and to this day we still have difficulty doing that in public. And so thankfully James actually helped bring that down. Exactly. And I've had experiences we were talking about with interacting with James Camp, where we saw a child transition from a boy to a girl over a period of 3 years. I saw, and to be honest, I wasn't, I'm accepting, and Marcus is teaching me all the words.
You mean correcting you?
Yeah, correcting me. That's right. But over the 3 years, I saw this transition and realized that this what I thought was a boy was a girl. And seeing how beautiful and how that changed relationship with their parents, because I got to know their parents over the 3 years.
Right, and I think exposure to it is the key, because there's the things we know we're supposed to accept, but actually being exposed to it and seeing it makes a difference.
And we live our lives like that. So we've had
Yeah.
many incidents of discrimination and isolation. And our philosophy has always been, if there's something, if you hate us for some reason, or you feel like we're not good parents for some reason, or whatever it is, don't just shut the door. Come and have coffee with us and understand who we are as human beings, and that there is love here, and there is a family here.
And it goes two ways too, because there is some pressure on us to be the perfect family, and even internally, right? Because gay parenting is a
Right, so you're a representative, you're almost ambassadors, if you will.
but we're a family like any other ones. We have we have problems, we have issues.
It's not
fight.
perfect. Right.
But what's really nice is I can go, to my next door neighbors or one of my friends and say, look, this is happening between James and I, or Marcus and I, and they treat us like any other couple and accept that. And so we're not afraid to be fallible.
What have both your fathers brought to you that you would carry on as a father yourself?
They definitely taught me a lot of things that I can carry on to my kids.
Like what?
To accept differences, because having two parents is something different, and taking that knowledge, I guess, and then I can pass it on to my kids.
Do you want to be a dad someday?
Well, sure.
Not too soon. Okay.
Not for long. Maybe when I'm 40.
Great. Thank you. Thanks a lot.